Welcome, everyone. We're here for another edition of the Unpredictable Pipeline. In this ongoing series, we continue to talk to marketing leaders about what they've been doing in 2020, leading their teams, leading their companies, leading their industries through the headwinds that are this year. And Mac McConnell, pleasure to have you joining us here today from Service Channel. And welcome. How happy Friday, first of all.
Thank you, Matt. And yeah, good to be here. You and I have known each other sort of through the industry for a long time now. And yeah, it's just good to be talking in what has been a very interesting year for marketers.
Very interesting year, end of an interesting week. This year has been something like 47 months long. This week has been at least 47 days long. But here we are, and I'm saying screw it. I'm just wearing a sweatshirt. I'm wearing socks. I'm not fully barefoot, but it is what it is. Well, anyway, just if you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourself, your role, tell us a little bit about Service Channel, and a little of what happened for you guys in March, sort of best laid plans, beginning of the quarter, and then all of a sudden things shut down, what that looked like.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a vice president of marketing at Service Channel, and Service Channel sells a facilities management platform that helps, chain retailers, chain restaurants, chain groceries, better manage the repair and maintenance process for these stores. And so we're operating in, an industry that's been, significantly impacted by COVID-19 and a lot of the other events, most recently hurricanes, potentially if there is social unrest related to the election. We've been helping our customers navigate all of that. But one of the interesting things about working in this industry, and it's my first exposure as a marketer, and I've been with Service Channel close to 2 years now, is the sales process, the marketing and sales process very often begins in person. It's still an industry where, shaking hands and looking people in the eye really means a whole lot. And so, the marketing plan that I, started building in 2019 and was planning on continuing in 2020 still had a very large percentage of budget allocated to in-person events, whether those are large trade shows, whether it's our own events or smaller regional things, be out around the country, around the world, talking to future customers. And that all went away in March 2020.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned, that previously that, you were doing 70 to 75% of your events in person. So that obviously was a big shift, but I think a lot of exponential changes, and we certainly went through that in terms of our marketing efforts, towards the end of Q1. A lot of it isn't necessarily all of a sudden. Oftentimes it's slowly and then suddenly. So talk about some of the trends and shifts that you were already making, and those just were kind of forced acceleration earlier this year.
Sure. So, I would say, in the history of Service Channel marketing, 2016, 2017, 2018, 75 to 90% of the marketing budget was devoted towards in-person events, at least related to, sort of demand marketing type programs. And part of the reason I was brought in is I've got a broad marketing background, but have spent a lot of time in the digital demand gen world. Sort of grew up with Eloqua and Marketo in the marketing automation space. Obviously have adopted a tool since then. So we were already marching down a path to really use, the digital sphere as a way to reach more potential customers. And that was a process that, started at the beginning of 2019 by just getting our data organized and making sure we were set up for the proper attribution of anything coming into our funnel via digital. And we were going to continue that in 2020. And then March happened. And so it was sort of all of a sudden we looked at a calendar that said, hold on, somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 events we were planning on participating in, boom, poof, they're gone. Yeah. So then we looked back at the budget and said, what can we do? And it basically, just as you described, said we have to step on the gas in the digital realm. And that quickly, pivoted our focus to how do we create offers that are meaningful through digital and going beyond just the traditional PDF or, ebook download, but things that are more compelling. It also, was a very, I would say it was an accelerator for us really to get to know LinkedIn very well.
Mhm.
And part of the reason for that is there's about, depending on who you ask within Service Channel, ballpark 2,500 brands that are HQ'd in North America that we want as Service Channel customers. And so we would usually meet those at events. Now, who's the best one, the best platform to talk to those potential customers? It's really LinkedIn, until you sort of take that next level, which is where we're going this year.
Yeah. You also talked about making a shift from not all pipeline identification to really doing more pipeline nurture. Can you talk about some of the criteria you looked at to make that shift, and what are some of those strategies you're now investing in?
Yeah. So, that was the other thing that I think happened for many companies, but us in particular, is when March occurred and we all went into lockdown. Once again, we're dealing with retailers, restaurants, groceries, convenience stores. So you've got two of those industries that are going like gangbusters, grocery and convenience store. They don't even have time to talk to us because their VPs are out stocking shelves.
Yeah.
And then you've got the retailers and the restaurants that are basically, frozen. They have no idea what's going on and what to do. And so we had to look, we knew it was not the best time to be sort of developing fresh pipeline. And so then we looked at our close rates and said, what can marketing do to help reinforce the sales message, beyond just the champion that we're talking to? Because we know that, at our price point, which is pretty high, this is going to start having to go up in the organization to get approval. And so we activated a lot of account-specific display advertising, a lot of LinkedIn advertising to go to the rest of the buying group, the people that figured at some place would be involved in that decision, and even went to the point of just saying, hey, some of these biggest accounts, we need to empower our champion. So we started developing videos and other materials that our champion could use internally to start socializing the idea of Service Channel. And it was our first sort of foray into what is, the overused term of account-based marketing. But when you're dealing with, several $100,000 deals, $1 million deals, it's the investment we needed to make to continue growth at Service Channel. And I'm pleased to say it looks like, knock on wood, we'll have a pretty good year.
That's awesome. Well, you describe yourself as a spreadsheet marketer. And oftentimes, if you're a spreadsheet marketer, you rely on benchmarks and past performance to sort of help you plan what happens next. Well, you can throw some of that out the window, right? Because I think like 2019 benchmarks aren't going to help you. 2020, who knows, right? So as someone who's both a math marketer and someone who's now planning for the new year, what are some of your strategies for trying to create some level of predictability in what you're going to do and what you're going to deliver? Because I know a lot of CMOs are really struggling with that right now.
Yeah, and so am I, and so are we. I mean, so one of I don't know if it's an unfortunate thing, but just the reality is, I joined Service Channel along with, sort of a rebuilt marketing team in early 2019. And so even into the 2018, 2017, I don't really trust the data. And that's just, that, and maybe that's my ego getting in the way. But the reality is we learned a lot in 2019. We were planning on taking those learnings into 2020. And at this point, there are just so many asterisks in my models that, it's just, we've gone back to taking smart assumptions. So I do a couple things. I check in with other marketers that are, tangential to our industry, but sort of sell into the same group, and we share what we're seeing. I also go back to, some of the benchmark data that, I've seen coming out of, you publish some, Serious Decisions obviously publishes some, Topo publishes some. And I'm basically rebuilding a model for next year that just takes sort of industry assumptions into place. It's not perfect, but I've made sure that the management team all know that, it's an exceptionally difficult year to learn from the past.
Yeah.
And so I've just taken the best conversion rates that sort of we know in the industry, guys like you and me, and said, we're starting from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're all doing, right? I mean, and no one has, the proverbial crystal ball. We're going to figure it out. I think, one of the biggest needs for marketing leaders, I think, going into next year is not necessarily clarity on what's going to happen, but agility to make adjustments as you see what happens, right? As we see, not just, related to sort of the pandemic itself, but also just the economic output and impact for all of us in a bunch of different ways. So it's going to be an interesting next 12 months. But I think, this is, leaders learn and grow, not in smooth seas, but in years like this. So Mac McConnell, VP of Marketing at Service Channel, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes, sharing a little bit about what this year's unpredictable pipeline has been for you.
Always a pleasure. Thanks very much, Matt.
Thanks everyone for watching.